So you're trying to make a change and you want to get a new habit going on, but you keep making the same mistake over and over again. How do you truly change your habits? Today, I'm going to share a proven system for you to use to make a permanent change in what you're doing. Hey, what's going on? It's Jesse Eker coming to you for another video. I'm excited about this one because this is all about how do you make a permanent change. Now, here's the deal. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. We're all human, right? But there's things that we may want to improve in our life, right? And one of the things that tends to happen is we're creatures of habit. And so when we're in a routine of doing something and we don't love to do it, we have to change our ways of being. And sometimes that can feel unnatural to what we're doing. So how do you really create a permanent change? Especially when you're doing something naturally and you want to do something different from what you're doing, whether that maybe is sleeping in and you want to wake up early, or whether that's the way that you communicate and you want to communicate differently. Maybe there's a characteristic. So you got to think of it in a couple different ways, and today I'm going to share with you the proven system that I've used to completely change my habits and continue to improve into growing and evolving versus reverting back to old habits, all right? Okay, so when it comes down to it, there's a lot of things that we can say, but if our actions don't line up to what we're saying, then that's going to be a problem, right? And so what I find is when we make these verbal commitments, like I'm gonna wake up early, or I'm not gonna do that again, or I'm not gonna make that same mistake, we usually don't make a permanent change in what we're doing. So what I've seen in myself, so that I can share with you, is I have to make my change tangible. Meaning I have to be able to see it clearly and create some tangibilities with it, some things that I can actually do to actually put into action the change that I want to see, right? So I can't just say it, I actually have to do something to like fill something out, which I'm going to take you through, and then create some real tangible like actions for me to take so that I can make a change, because saying something is one thing, but doing something is another, okay? So there's really 4 parts to this, and then a bonus solidifier to make sure that we actually do this, okay? So we're gonna start with the internal part, then we'll go to the external part, and we wrap this up all together. So we'll start with the internal. Number 1 is we have to have a purpose for why we want to change what we want to change or what we want to improve. What's the purpose? Like a real purpose. Like, do you want to be a better person? Like, do I want to be a better father? Do I want to be a better partner? Do I want to be a better business person? Do I want to provide more for my family? Like, what is that real deep impact purpose that I can latch onto that actually gives me the real motivation to change this? Like, is this going to save me from going to debt or divorce? Or like, what is the real, consequence if I don't change this, right? What's the consequence and what's the purpose for us to really take the time to do this? So that's number 1. You got to answer it is, what is your purpose for making this change? If you don't have a purpose, you're not going to make a change. So you really have to identify what's the consequence if you don't make the change? And also, why do you really want to make this change? So number 1. Number 2 is we have to think about changing our identity from where we are to where we want to go, okay? This is really important because your identity tends to lend itself to the actions you take. So if I say, hey, I'm the business guy and I'm an elite business guy and I only do these certain tasks, that's my identity. But if I say, no, I am a family man and business is part of my life, then the identity is family. And so I will wrap in the family part of my business and business will be part of it, right? So identifying with being the businessman or the family man are gonna be very different, right? Now you can be both, but if your habit is reverting back to the identity of this is who I am, then you're gonna have a hard time changing it. So who are you right now when you're like going through this habitual thing, and how do we change that identity? So going from where you are right now to where you want to be, change that identity and just make it encompassing to the new habit that you want to build, right? So those are the 2 internal factors you must change. And how I do that is I simply go and make a note in my phone and I say, this is like habit change, and I put the habit. Then I say, here's the purpose. Here's the consequence of what I'm doing and what's costing me. And here's what the motivation, the purpose of why I'm doing it. okay? Then here's my current identity that's causing me to be this way. Here's the new identity I want to start to build in so that I will habitually and naturally start to think of it in a different way. Think of it in a different way, because thinking leads to feeling, feeling leads to acting, acting leads to results, okay? Then on the other side, we have the actual external things that we can start to make changes with. So when it comes to habits, there's always something called a trigger. Now the trigger is what causes you to create that habit or what you're doing. So there's always a trigger. So like, let's say social media, right, is a habit that you do and you're like always on social media. Well, the trigger could be a notification. That could be your trigger, right? Let's say that you continuously get in an argument with your spouse on a specific topic. The trigger could be when you guys talk about, let's just say money, for example. You know, talking about that money conversation is going to trigger the normal feelings and emotions that you have. So you need to identify what is the trigger that starts the habitual habit that you want to change, whether that is an actual tangible habit of you doing something differently or getting rid of what you're doing. So we gotta understand the trigger to it, okay? So that's number 3, is understanding the trigger. And the 4th thing is we have to look at this in a factor of ability, okay? So I read this book, Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. It's super great, I recommend it. It talks about the ability, right? Because some days we're gonna have motivation and some days we won't. So we don't wanna rely on motivation itself. We wanna, first of all, make sure that we are able to fulfill our commitment and make it super easy. So what's something that we can do to make things super easy for us? So like, let's say you're waking up in the morning, you wanna wake up earlier. Instead of waking up 2 hours earlier to the desired time, you wake up 5 minutes earlier. Or let's say you wanna meditate, instead of actually meditating, like for 10 minutes, you take 3 deep breaths. So we think about what's really easy for us to change, right? A small, really easy win. Like, let's just say you are not checking your phone a specific time, like you don't wanna go on social media till 10 a.m. Well, let's say you start with, don't go on social media within the first 15 minutes of the day. So we start with these really easy wins for us to build the habit that we wanna do. Okay? So we gotta think about the ability. Are we stretching ourselves way too thin? Like we're just trying to go for like the $1 million when we haven't even hit the $10 mark? Let's get some first steps in there so we build our habit, right? So that's the ability side. Now, to wrap this up, what I have found to be the most, I would say, efficient, painful, and also effective way to actually change a habit is to build in some real pain and consequence, okay? So consequences are things that happen if you continue to do the things that you are doing. So if you continue to do that habit, you have to build in the consequence that actually creates some pain in what you're doing. Consequences could be multiple different things. This could be paying money to a certain aspect of life that you don't want to pay money to. This could be shaving an eyebrow. It could be shaving your head. It could be not showering for a week. I don't know if that's something that would actually cause pain. Maybe it would, but maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it's, something that you routinely do and you need to do, but you're not gonna allow yourself to do. Maybe it's, not eating. I don't know, I'm coming up with crazy consequences, but I want you to create pain for yourself. The reason why I want you to create pain, because you are gonna say to yourself, this sucks. I don't wanna do this. I don't wanna experience this pain anymore. So you wanna make sure that you have this pain built in. And then the bonus kicker on top of that is creating an accountability partner for you to share this plan with so they can hold you accountable. All right, so let's recap. Internally, we wanna have a purpose. We wanna change our identity from where we're at to where we wanna go to be more aligned with the new habit. We wanna identify the trigger of what is actually causing the habit and then create something that's gonna be an easy win based off an ability of not stretching ourselves too thin or going too big right away. Then to wrap it all together, we're gonna create a consequence or pain if we decide that we continue to go down the route that we don't wanna go and not make the change. And we're gonna have an accountability partner to give us a little kick in the butt to make sure that we are saying and doing things that are aligned with, the progress we want to make. All right, so that's the permanent habit changer. I want to hear from you what habit you're going to change in the comments below. Let's start to ingrain these habits and also as a community support each other to making this change together. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. It's an honor to watch you learn and grow. Bye for now.